Hey, welcome to another episode of Under the Surface. I'm Levi Polzin at Levi Oner on Instagram. Today we're doing a new series, basically like why that tattoo works, where I kind of go through tattoos that I've seen throughout my history of tattooing, and I remember kind of had a profound impact on me and tattoo history in general, and basically like things that I applied later on in my tattooing or tried, and I'm going to go ahead and break it down and kind of do diagrams and show why that tattoo is, I think it's working. Today we're working off this Ed Hardy back piece. It's a pretty famous one. He did it in the 90s, I think 1991. I took the photo from this book here, Tattooing the Invisible Man, Don Ed Hardy. Just a big book, and we'll do a full coverage of it later on, I'm sure. It's got his art, his tattoos, and a ton of other stuff in there. But today we're just going to be going off of the reference I already pulled, and I'm going to be doing some diagrams. All right, let's get into it. So yeah, we're all queued up here. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit just to focus on the back so you guys can see it. And make sure you got plenty of visual space for you guys to see kind of what I'm diagramming here. I'm going to go ahead and make a layer and make a lighter color. I think I'm going to make something that's not as much in this tattoo, maybe a really light green or something. We'll try that for drawing diagrams over. First of all, I'm going to kind of outline this guy's back, just so we have a sense of the shape of his body. So I think that's always something to take into consideration. Each body is completely unique, and so, we have to take that into consideration when we're tattooing it. And once again, Ed was having to take that into consideration when, he was designing this tattoo. First and foremost, I want to just note, I'm going to make a new layer again here. I want to note he's kind of working within like a sacred geometry format here. So if you look here, he's working within I'm forgetting the person's name right now who did this spiral, but basically this tattoo is, if it's interest point, you can kind of follow it into a spiral, right? And because you're really focusing in on that mouth, and this whole tattoo, all the different interest points are the claw, the mouth, and the eyes, really. And some of this back, I feel like that really brings a lot of strength to it as well. Each aspect of this is bringing you kind of into the center or pulling you back out. And I think that spiral is really, really powerful, and using the rounded shape really lends itself well to the human body here as well. So I'm going to hide that, make a new layer so I can show you some other stuff too. So if we kind of just go from his butt crack using a center line, and kind of look at the things divided here, most of the interesting stuff we'll see is pretty much on the right half of this person's body. This whole left side is kind of almost empty space, but it's still working. I feel like it's still working because what the interest stuff is heavily on the right, you need some alleviation for the eye for this stuff to work. So if it was just all interesting stuff, if you had a ton of stuff going over here, it wouldn't work as much because your eye wouldn't know where to pull from. And so having this whole side be basically just the neck of the panther and the side cheek of the panther, and very visually simple, is really lending it so this right side here, the interest points, the mouth, the eyes, and the claw really just jump out at you. So then let's look at it here. This tattoo is kind of split once again into 3 sections. You know, we've got an interest point here, and then from there to there, and from there to there. You can maybe up this a little bit, you know, and include that snout a little bit or something in there, or the muzzle of that panther. But then the eyes, kind of the bridge of the eyes and the top of the head is all kind of an interest point as well. And that's working within kind of a rule of thirds, which is a traditional tattoo, you know, rule. Generally, you're going to think of like, you know, you want 1/3 black, 1/3 color, 1/3 skin, which he's applying here to some degree. With the open skin heavily on the back. And even though this red is color up here, it still is so close to the skin tone it almost reads as open skin itself. But more importantly, he's using this thirds method in kind of his interest points. So he has 3 interest points, and he's breaking it up throughout the entirety of the length of the tattoo. And you see that generally in a lot of art and design. I mean, you can see it from Caravaggio to web designers. You know, they're generally going to break things into a lot of groups of 3 or odd numbers in general. All right, let's look at kind of some angular aspects here. You know, you really have kind of the mouth creating a lot of angles here. Even this claw, the way where it's ending, is still kind of following, you know, this angular nature. The ear, once again, it's kind of falling in line, and then this ear here is falling in line with that as well. So we're moving, even though, once again, this thing is moving within this spiral, you can see it's still playing kind of at an angular essence. And I don't know if you remember my, if you saw the video on a tutorial on how to draw the tiger head, but I kind of did this thing of like imagining that the tiger was putting its head down in a windstorm or something. And I almost imagine Ed did something similar here. Like if you think of big cats, usually when they're scared or they're gonna attack or something like that, they're usually very crouched down, and so their head is very low. Usually, maybe their butt is very high, and they're kind of very tense. And that's kind of the energy. You've got a very coiled up energy, and that is one lended from the spiral aspect that he has. It just literally gives you a coiled up energy. Feel you're just waiting for the energy of this animal to completely unfold. You know, you can feel that in this design. And then partially, I feel like you're feeling that just because of the angles that everything is working at. It's nothing's on really a vertical horizon line. It's all very angular. And then thirdly, I think one of my biggest takeaways is just the sheer massive size in which Ed approached this thing. I mean, it was far ahead of its time. It's very traditionally approached, other than maybe a little bit of like the drool on its mouth here, which is like kind of like gray lined in a lot of spots, or maybe like with a tight 3. You know, that lends a little bit of kind of, you know, illustrativeness, realism, or whatever you want to call it. But the rest of it is approached very traditionally. So to do a traditional panther on a full, you know, back in 1991 was just a giant leap visually. You know, nobody was really seeing this at all And I feel like he's pulling a lot from how big and dramatic Japanese tattoos are, and he's seeing how can I apply the dramatics of size to traditional tattoos. And in some way, he kind of realized I need to go even bigger. That, at least that's my takeaway and my thought process. Another thing is, I think maybe he thought, oh, well, this guy has so many moles all over his back. If I do a smaller design, it's going to get confusing because they're going to be cutting into some really, say he did the panther a regular size, oh, let's go a new layer here, did its head about that big and kind of its shoulders. You'd see those elements of the guy's moles would be playing a much bigger role in the design. And so by executing the design larger, it just doesn't play in as much. It always looked like snow falling or something to me, which I always thought was super cool and fun. It seemed like a big cat or a tiger in the snow. Obviously, this is a panther, but it always kind of read that way to me. Yeah, so those are kind of some of my takeaways of what I really like. Pretty quick, simple video, but this was a really influential tattoo on me, and I feel like the tattoo community in general. Put in the comments what you think. Like, what other elements did I miss? What do you think that's really making this tattoo pop? What do you think that's making it powerful? And if you saw this tattoo and you were just like, this thing blew me away, put that in the comments too. I'd love to hear from y'all. Remember to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers this month so we can start monetizing and bringing you really more in-depth content. Like, comment in the videos, share with your friends. All this helps us and helps us keep bringing you cool content. All right, well, we'll see you soon. Talk to you guys later.